Hello everyone. Next topic in module 5 is system protection. How you provide protection for the files in the system is about system protection. So goals of system protection or goals of protection is like how you prevent unwanted access to your files is about protection. So operating system consists of collection of objects, hardware or software. Each object has unique name and can be accessed through well-defined set of operations. So that set of operations are maintained, like well-defined operations are maintained to provide protection. So protection problem is to ensure that who is accessing what data, or who is the right owner, or who is the right person to access what. So objects are accessed correctly, means the process is accessing the objects correctly, and only those processes that are allowed or not, means who is allowed are accessing the accessing the objects or not. That is about protection. So reasons for providing protection is to prevent mischievous violation of access restrictions, and to ensure that each program component active in a system use system resources only in the way consistent with the policies. Like unless if you don't have an access, you are not supposed to access that information. Like restricted access is not allowed. This is why the protection is to be provided for the system. So principles of protection is it works based on a principle of least privilege. So provide the least privileges that is enough for a process or for the user, which is enough for their execution, or user and the system should be provided with just enough privileges, like the least enough privileges for their task. This is how the protection is maintained. If you provide least enough, like minimum number of enough privileges than maximum number, then damage will be very less. Limits the damage of entities as a bug get abused, and can this damages can be of static way, which can damage lifetime or during lifetime of a process or the lifetime of the system. And dynamic damages like domain switching, privilege escalations, like unwanted use of privileges or switching from one domain to another like unwantedly, all are like dynamic damages happen. Need to know a similar concept regarding the access to the data. Principle of protection is like how access control provide mechanism and audit trials. So access control providing mechanisms are like the read write execution access control provides, enable privileges when they are needed. So whenever the privileges are needed, then enable them, disable them when they are not needed. Then based on the audit trial, like first one is providing protection based on access control, like whenever needed provide them privileges, whenever not needed disable them. Second method is based on audit trials. So provide a trial audit, based on the trial audit then provide the protection or provide the privilege for accessing or disable the protection. So this audit trial can be used for programmers, system administrators or law enforcement officers. Next one is domain structure. How this domain structure for the protection of privileges are done. So process operates with the protection domain. So there is a protection domain, or this is an object which has all the objects and its privileges. So whatever the objects are present in the system, in the domain it will set with an access right. So for every object it has access right in its domain. So protection domain specifies the resources a process may access. So access right is equal to, means for every process it has access right, and this access right is a data stored in domain structure, and it has object name and what is the right it has set. So based on the domain set of access rights, the object work. And if you are sharing 2 or 3 domains, it can be overlapping. 2 domains can provide one object with different or same access rights. If it is same, then you can use like merging of 2 domains also. Next one is access matrix. So how this access means to define or to provide the domain structure in the matrix form, we use access matrix. So access matrix provide mechanism for specifying a variety of policy. So in this access matrix, rows will represent the domain, what are the domain it has, and column will represent the object. F1, F2, F3 are objects, and even it can have the hardwares. So all the functions and hardware priorities can be used. So we can tell this as objects as files, hardwares used, system calls, or any resources used comes under hardware, and these are the domains. So for the domain D1, function object F1 is readable, object F3 is readable, D1 cannot access F2 and printer. So D2 domain can access printer for printing, D3 can access F3 for read, and F2 for read and F3 for execute, D4 can access F1 for read write and F2 for read write. This is how access matrix works. So access matrix is a matrix with access of domain and object is set with an operation. So every time I is a domain and j is the object. So use of access matrix. Access matrix is designed separates mechanism from policies. So we have 2 types of protections. One is protection mechanism, and which is protection. Next one is protection policy. In protection mechanism for access matrix, operating system provides access matrix plus rules if ensures that the matrix is only manipulated by authorized agents and that rules are strictly enforced. Policies are user detects policies and who can access what objects in what mode. So access matrix of figures with a domain domain as an object. See here, in this access matrix, even domains is also given as objects. So we have domains and objects still here, but again domains is added as objects. So this means D1 can switch to D2. The domain or the process, if you consider domain as one process, it can switch to another domain also. So switch is a mechanism. In the object, if you have domains also, it gives a privilege of switching one domain to another. So D1 can read the file F1, can read the file F3 and can switch to D2. So it can also access the print mechanism. So D2 can access print and can switch to D3 and D4. D3 can only access F2 and F3 but cannot switch to any domains, and D4 can switch to D1. This is how domains are acting as objects. Next one is access matrix with copy and owner rights. So copy is specified with star, denotes ability of one domain to copy the access right to another domain. So D1 can read the file and can copy the file from one domain to another domain. So it can copy the file D3 to D2 domain as well, since it has switch option. So D1 can copy the file F3 to domain D2. Next one is owner, denotes the process executing in that domain and add delete rights to the column. So here for domain D3 has function of owner to the file F2. It can create a file file or object F2, and it can even delete the file F1 or file F2. Next is control in access to D2 and D4. See here, the domain D2 has control on D4. Switch control means a process executing in domain D2 can modify the row of D4. So process D2 not only access to D4, can also modify the row of D4. So D2 has control on D4. Okay, and like consider D2 as a parent process and D4 as a child process. So D2 can have control on its child process. Like that, D2 domain has switch control on D4. D2 can switch to D4 and D2 can modify the row of D4. Okay, so I think you understood the topics. Thank you.